Happening. Thanks for joining us. Pop and Lund on a Wednesday edition of the show. We'll get you ready for Monday Night Football. Very busy yesterday at 49ers HQ in Santa Clara. We had Trent Williams. We played a little bit of that for you. Brandon Ayuk saying, it made things a little tougher than they needed to be at the end. And, of course, John Lynch talking about Ricky Pearsall. That was all yesterday. We gave it to you right here on the Sports Leader. Larry Krueger was there. Make sure you're following Larry at Sports Larry K. The Krug Show. Make sure that you're watching that on YouTube and plus see this on YouTube and hear it here when the Giants aren't playing. That is Niners Nightly on Monday night. Plus pre and post for Krug. It's great to have Krug back, and I can see Krug. So if you're on YouTube and Twitch, you can see Krug with his familiar Krug Show background. He joins us courtesy of the guest line. What's happening?
It's not a sauna. It's just wood paneling.
There's not a naked, hairy guy laying next to you?
Did I ever tell you when I used to do the morning 9 to noon with Ratty, I joined the gym down on by Palomino where the old Gordon Biersch was.
Oh, love Gordon Biersch.
Yeah, I remember the Gordon Biersch garlic fries were amazing. But anyway, the gym was right there on the water, and so I'd do the 9 to noon. I'd go down, I'd work out for a couple hours, and then head home. Right. And they had a steam, and I love taking a steam. So I get in. I go in the steam. And it's a tiny box. It's like 10 feet by 10 feet. I get into the steam. It's totally packed with steam. I can't see a damn thing. I think I'm in there alone. All of a sudden, I hear this, like after 10, 12 minutes. What's up, Krug? What?
It wasn't Radnich, was
I'm
it?
like, bro. I go, what? I go, you're blowing my mind. I can't see you. You're saying my name. He's like, I saw you and Ratty on the TV, and then I knew you were coming down.
Stalker in the sauna?
He's stalking in the sauna?
He stalked me in a sauna.
No way.
In the sauna.
Creepy.
I mean, it's one thing to get stalked, but I've never been stalked while wearing a small white gym towel.
Well, and then the scary thing is first question is, hey, what's up, Krug? Second question is, can you believe Sonny Jackson sent that guy home last night? That was unbelievable. What's Sonny thinking?
I had thought of Sonny Jackson. So that's amazing.
Crazy.
Anyway, so we heard, the guys that went to the podium, we've been playing a lot of that. John got emotional yesterday. Trent opened up, and so did Ayuk. But you went in the open locker room. Yeah. And just when your teammate takes a bullet in the chest, a little over a week before the start of a year, I mean, your thoughts just run wild. What do you think the 49er players are handling? Because Ricky's obviously got to handle it his own way. But just how has it changed the mood of their locker room to have one of their players be attacked like that?
It sounds really kind of weird to say this, but I think it's a galvanizing moment. I really do. I think it's it's one that reminds you of your mortality. Trent had some really strong words about knowing where you're at and, hey, life isn't worth items, and have the proper perspective and, be aware that you are a target from time to time. Don't let it harden your soul or anything, but, just be aware when you're out and about. And so I think that's something they all live vicariously through one another. So I think the younger players will take heed of what happened to Ricky. I'm sure there'll be some dialogue about where to go and where not to go. But I think it's a galvanizing point because I think, it tells them, hey, man, this guy's been through hell and back. It probably creates a little bit of a bond. And also, now that we know he's okay, there's the lighter moment of, hey, now Ricky's got street cred and this and that and all the jocularity, fun stuff that happens in a locker room between guys. But I do think it's going to galvanize them, guys. I think it's going to bring them a little bit together because it's tragedy. It's a guy who almost lost his life in his early 20s. I mean, it absolutely is impacted the room.
It's crazy. Larry Krueger is joining us. It's Pop and Lund here on these Sports Leaders. We'll get you ready for Monday night, Jets and 49ers on Monday Night Football. How quickly do you think, I asked this to Dante, and he said Trent was going to be no problem at all, but Ayuk and Trent Williams, great that they're signed, but they missed all of camp. So how effective can they be, especially on Monday night against the Jets?
Well, Trent is I asked him about what he's been doing, and he owns a gym. He said he changed little things about his workout. I didn't get a chance to do a lot of follow-up with him, so I don't know exactly what they were, but he looks like he's in great shape. But he's 36, and I would just be very, very careful with him this week. You don't want any kind of muscle tears, It's a calf tear, it's quad, nothing. All those soft tissue things that you can pull, you can also tear. And if you tear them, you're gone for a long time. So I think due to his age, they got to be real careful. Ayuk, I think, is also a guy they got to be careful with because he kind of admitted to us yesterday on the post on the at the presser that he is going to try to do too much. He is going to try to overcompensate for being gone a lot. And, they don't want him to do that because you don't want to lose. You don't want to pay the guy at the rate you're paying him and then lose him for 6 weeks because of a soft tissue injury that came about because of the holdout. So I think you got to slow play these guys. If you get a lead, I think you got to get them off the field.
All right. Now we'll get into the game. Tomorrow we're back down there at Levi's, and they're Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They play on Monday, and it's installation day tomorrow. So we know Robert Saleh well, and they're running the Saleh 3, the cover 3, where it's bail technique, and their DJ Reed runs it perfectly, opens up the hips and stays on top. But they got this special corner in Sauce Gardner who does like to mirror wide receivers. He likes to man match and follow people around. I'm not sure how they do that with their zones, Larry, if he's playing man and everybody else is zoning up, or just give me your thoughts, because I think Saleh's going to unleash Sauce on Ayuk, when Ayuk's, because you can get him when he's X-wide receiver up on the line. He can press him and do his thing. Just the ability of Sauce Gardner. He's long at 6'3". He's skinny. He's got little chicken legs at 190. Can you tackle? Can he tackle? Can you run at that guy? Just tell me about the matchup with Sauce on Monday night.
Yeah, Greg, I think you really centered on it. I think that's the game plan. I think it's going to be a run-heavy game plan. I think both teams are going to have a run-heavy game plan. Ayuk's advantage on Sauce is that Ayuk's maybe the best blocking wide receiver in the game. I asked him about the matchup. He's intrigued by it. He feels like they've watched a lot of film. You could tell as soon as I asked him about it, he had watched a lot of film. I mean, he's familiar with DJ Reed. This is a good Jets defense that is a front-based defense, and they, it's all about dialing up heat up front. And they don't have a Son Reddick. They lost Huff to the Eagles. How much can Michael Clemens be a factor up front? But I think it's going to be interesting to see what the game plan for the 49ers is, because we know Kyle loves balance, but I think this is a great opportunity to have a run-heavy plan. You look at those numbers last year on this defense, guys. Jets were 3rd in total D, 2nd in pass D, but they're 25th in run D. And I think it's you run it at him, and you run towards Sauce's side, and you make him play run D, and if you can get Ayuk to block, block for the run game downfield on Sauce, advantage Niners.
Larry Krueger is joining us, getting ready for the Jets and the Niners. In the locker room yesterday, not only the Pearsall, Trent Williams, and Brandon Ayuk, but you talked to Leonard Floyd. You asked him about he got death threats last year from Jets fans for knocking out Aaron Rodgers. He obviously didn't mean to do it, but that's crazy. What was his reaction like?
Well, it's funny. He's a great guy too, and he's very, very confident. I said, "Hey, man, Bosa." I go, "You're going to run into some sacks with Bosa on the other side." And as a true pro athlete said, he said he's going to run into some as well. In other words, I'm pretty good. He got death threats when he sacked Rodgers, and now the Jets fans thought they were a Super Bowl contender. I think we all know that they probably weren't, but that's what they thought. And so it was week 1. It was very dramatic. And so he got death threats. And I asked him, I said, is it going to serve as a motivator? And he's like, well, I don't want to play it up because it was last year. But then when I kind of pressed him on it, he's like, yeah, absolutely. And he's got that incredible upfield burst, jump cut move. That's just, he's lived on it his whole career. And I would expect him to heat up Rodgers pretty good Monday night.
And, going back to the season opener last year, September the 11th, when Floyd's Buffalo Bills went against the Jets, it wasn't just the 4th snap when he got hurt. The first 3 snaps, every time Rodgers went back to pass, he was under siege. And he had that look in his eye like he did when he faced the Niners in 2019 and that game on Sunday Night Football, Kruegs, then in the championship game where, Bulaga and Bakhtiari, those Packer tackles, couldn't block the gold rush. Now, the Jets have changed. Becton's gone, Mekhi Becton. Go back to Hard Knocks last year. They were calling out that O-line. So yeah. Joe Douglas redid the O-line, but they're old. Tyron Smith, when's the last time he played, the whole entire year? It's 2015. He's always hurt. Right. Nick Bosa loves the matchup with Tyron Smith, quietly and privately, even publicly sometimes. he'll say there's some things you can do with him. Morgan Moses over at right tackle, he's been around the league forever, and that's who Leonard Floyd will get. John Simpson inside. Vertuck is a good player. Tidman, the center, is having a hard time with low snaps. Just your overall thought, because, Aaron Rodgers was under siege by Leonard Floyd last year. How do the Jets' revamped veteran offensive line block Nick and Floyd and the 49er Gold Rush?
Yeah, it's the compelling matchup, I think, in this thing. This is you get the Niners got the Jets at the right time. Rodgers has played 4 plays in 2 years. They got 3/5 of a new offensive line. They're flying cross country week 1. They went undefeated in the preseason. I watched all 3 of their games. Guys, I'll say this right now. I think that they have 2 name tackles in Morgan Moses, who's 33. Tyron Smith comes from Dallas. He's 33. I think their better tackle combo are the backups. Max Mitchell, the 4th-round pick last year, and the guy they just drafted out of Penn State this year, Olu Fashanu.
Yeah.
He looks great. Fashanu looked great, but then he's not playing. He's sitting behind Tyron Smith. So, they're going with veterans. They feel better about it. But these guys, I would imagine that Sorensen dials up some intricate games up front and makes communication be the referendum of the night. Make the Jets O-line communicate, because they don't have a lot of snaps together, even this year in the preseason. These guys barely know each other. If you make them communicate, I think there's going to be free runners at Rodgers.
Krueger, especially on the national level, I drive in every day and listen to sports stations all across the country, and they all love talking about the 49ers, and they're all wondering if they can make this climb again. The offseason they've had, how many times, how many opportunities do you get, all those kind of things. Do you buy into that discussion of, geez, they got to make this climb again, and it's going to be difficult? They lost another tough Super Bowl. What do you think of all that talk?
Well, it's not necessarily, to me, it's the real part of it, which is, the extra games. Like, that's real. Like, you play 17 games and your team plays 17, I play 20. You're going to have more rest than me. And if I can play 20 games 3 years in a row and you never play more than the regular season, now I've played almost a whole half a extra season over the course of a 4 or 5 year run. So I think it does impact the teams, and it is a drag on you. But I just think that when you've been to, and we saw it with the Warriors a few years ago, when you've been to the finals, when you've been to the Super Bowl, when you've been in the Final Four as often as the Niners are, you're just not going to dial up the same kinds of intensity and vibe in July and August as if you weren't. And so I'm now that the calendar has turned to September, there's a focus and an intensity that you never saw this summer. So this was a weird camp, admittedly. I talked to Tim Ryan about it a couple times on the sideline during practice. Be like, the vibe's weird. It's an interesting vibe. But now that it's real, I get the feeling they're going to flip the switch, and maybe the energy they didn't expend in July and August, they'll have at the end of the year. That'll be my hope.
Well, they won 12 games last year. The last game against the Rams, they didn't play their guys. Neither did the Rams. But the Rams wanted to win that game for playoff matchups. They could have won 13. But they won 12. The Lions won 12. We're going to talk to Cynthia Freeland coming up, and the NFC's loaded. Philadelphia's gotten better. We'll see if they play better, but she has them actually winning more games. So the key thing is you want to play 20 total games, not 21. You want 17 in the regular season, 2 playoff games at home to get to the Super Bowl, and that's the 20th game. You got to play that wild card game and then go on the road for the title game. It gets squirrely. So this game on Monday night is not a conference game, but it's still going to add up in your overall win total. Just the other matchup, if Rodgers is smart, he's going to get the ball out. And the Jets clearly on offense have 2 elite players around him. Breece Hall is all that. That guy is he's big and strong, and he's got breakaway speed. He can catch the ball. He had more, pass catches out of the backfield last year than McCaffrey. And then the wide receiver, Garrett Wilson, is just elite. He is so smooth. Yeah. He's a lot like Olave. Breece Hall, certain situations, Fred will man-match him. With Garrett Wilson, we were talking about how Salah's going to match up and Sauce may, follow Ayuk around. Do you think Charvarius Ward, the Mooney man, follows around Garrett Wilson on Monday night? They do have, when the Jets go 3 wides, and they like their slot corner, they got the young guy Corley and Xavier Gibson. So they may be in that a lot. You can move Isaac Yiadom outside and he's not undersized, so you don't have to do that. And then Demo inside. Just do they double Garrett Wilson? Do they give him the Mooney Man mirror? What do they do with that guy? Because he is elite.
Yeah, where he's truly elite, he's one of the greatest route runners that also has that extra burst. So he's a tremendous route runner. His footwork in and out of the breaks, he's a veteran route runner, but with home run speed. So you really got to, I think he, as a young receiver, I think you got to throw the kitchen sink at him, Greg. I think you got to throw a bunch of different looks, especially with Rodgers. I don't think you can give Rodgers one look. I think you're going to have to mix it up. Maybe you double him, maybe you travel with him, maybe there's times that you don't. I know the Niners feel really good about the depth at corner, but I think that's going to be key. I mean, the Niners, I think, have two real challenges in this game off defensively. Garrett Wilson and not letting him get over the top and taking the proper angle on Breece Hall. Because if you look at Breece Hall, guys, he's a big body. I mean, he's 5'11", he's 220 pounds. So you look at him and you say, oh, well, he runs this speed because of his size. And then you realize, no, he's sub 4.4. So you got it. And if you saw him over his college tape, guys took bad angles all the time. So to me, that's the big issue. Take the right angle, respect Breece Hall's speed, and then give Rodgers multiple defensive looks, and don't let him get comfortable. And Garrett Wilson, give him space and don't let him burn you up, over the top. Because if you make the Jets drive the football, I think good things are going to happen. If they can go over the top, and you got Rodgers and his incredible deep ball accuracy, that it could be a long night.
Krug, always great, man. Thank you so much. We'll be looking forward to it. The Krug Show, also the Monday night, we're always going to do that. That is very cool. You had your debut edition of that. Niners Nightly going on. We're going to see you on the pre and the post-game show, all the shows during the week, man. It's awesome to have you back.
Man, it's great to be back, and have a great show, guys. And we'll see you. We'll see you Monday night.
I'll see you tomorrow. I'll be down there tomorrow. I'll see you Thursday and Friday.
Sounds good. We'll see you there.
Sounds good, man. Make sure you check out the Krug Show on YouTube. Does a great job as a bunch of guys on there all the time and always talking Niners. So make sure you check that out as well.